Well, welcome back to another episode of Midlife Mavens. Brain fog, hot flashes, how ADHD meets menopause.
Mm.
Brain fog and hot flashes. Whoever led us to believe that midlife was going to be boring was dead wrong. And today we're diving into a topic that's close to home for a lot of us, and that's what happens when ADHD collides with perimenopause and menopause. And spoiler alert, it is not just forgetfulness. It's a full-on identity crisis with a side of night sweats and a few other things. And you can either be spiraling up or spiraling down. It is really hard to determine which direction you're going to go.
It's going to vacillate from day to day, moment to moment. I mean, really, like your function that was already on shaky ground, and with ADHD, and then suddenly, like your hormones show up or lack of showing up, and then it's like, hey, you want to make things interesting?
For real.
I mean, I wish that I would be asked first, but no. October is National ADHD Awareness Month, so this is a perfect time for us to be talking about it. Now, whether you have been diagnosed with ADHD or you are like Denise and I, and you are not diagnosed by a professional, but the signs are all there. Let's go ahead and start with the basics. Like ADHD affects things like can you focus? Clearly, I cannot or speak today. It affects your memory. It affects like emotional regulation. It affects time management. Then you add all of this like fun midlife perimenopause stuff, and which we know with all the fluctuating estrogen levels, it just causes everything to just take a steep and sudden decline. It affects your dopamine. And then now your brain is going from either buffering all the time or to like 100 tabs are wide open and you just don't know where to go.
Oh my God, exactly. Tasks that used to be manageable start feeling impossible. You walk into a room and you forget why, and you stand there for a few minutes thinking, oh, maybe that'll just come back. It's going to come back. And I've started even telling myself now, I love my brain. It always remembers everything. And I'm standing in this room going, and you open your phone to look at something and you get distracted. And then the next thing you know, you're down this rabbit hole of, I don't even know what. And then you get off your phone because you're like, oh my God, where did that 30 minutes go? And then you're like, oh shit, I didn't get the thing that I needed to get in the first place. And the reason you got on there was you meant to open up the Amazon app, and then I don't know, and then the emotional roller coasters that would go on with all this. And I know when I started to notice this is when I got my second divorce, and I kept thinking that it was just because I didn't have the structure anymore in my life, and that's what I was struggling with. And it turns out that is not what it was.
No, I wish I thought, that there was like a reason, but it just turns out that, it's everything all at one time. You've got mood swings going on, fun. Anxiety suddenly starts like fluctuating out of nowhere. You're just sitting there, you weren't doing anything, and then your heart is just like racing. You've got like sensory sensitivity. Somebody's chewing next to you too loudly.
Oh my God, the chewing.
The breathing, whatever, all of it. The ADHD symptoms get amplified. Denise and I follow a gal on Instagram, and when we both saw this, because it showed up in our feed probably around the same time, we were just like, oh my God, that's me. And that's why today we were like, we got to talk about this, because we know that like this was us, that we are not alone in this. I mean, this lady's got a whole account that she's focusing on. Look, we got to talk about this. We've got to talk about the importance of this, because all along you've been hearing from even maybe from your friends or your doctor, and they're like, oh, it's just menopause, or oh, this is just part of getting older. No, sir. My brain was fine before this. I knew how to function with the buffering and the open tabs. And then like now I don't know whether I need to scratch my watch or wind my butt. What's happening?
Oh my gosh. No, exactly. And it's not just getting older. It's very complex, and it overlap that deserves real support. And for many women, ADHD isn't diagnosed. It's because we have been such high functioning perfectionist people pleasers for so long that when perimenopause hits, everything starts to unravel and you no longer have the ability to cope the way we've always coped before. And it becomes nearly impossible. Like oftentimes you're left feeling alone and unsupported. And if you are in a marriage, like I was in the process of getting divorced, and I know we talked about mental divorce in a couple of shows ago. And I know, you and your husband had a struggle and you went to therapy and you were able to like,
Still
this is where yeah. Oh yeah. And it's like, and we feel so unsupported and we don't understand what in the heck is going on.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Here's the thing: is like we need to be able to take these symptoms and unmask them, and we need to see like where we were being able to manage it, and then what's being misattributed. Is it the hormonal fluctuations? Is it the ADHD? You know, you're questioning everything. You're questioning like your brain. Why did I walk into this room? Your motivation, like why am I still even bothering? And then sometimes those things lead you to like questioning your entire personality. It affects every single aspect of your life. And that's not fair to you. That's not fair to the people around you. You know,
I know. And, and so what can help that? And first of all, you need validation that you're not lazy, that you're not broken, and you're navigating two neurological shifts at once. And second, you've got to talk to your doctor, and preferably one that understands both ADHD and hormonal health, because that's why so many women are getting late stage diagnoses because they've managed to mask it. And I know my daughter, when she was diagnosed, that the doctor didn't think it was me because I was still able to cope with all my previous techniques. I don't even know what those were, but we had them apparently. And it turns out, and then as I aged and those coping mechanisms were no longer effective, I wasn't able to mask that anymore. And so we can both attest to the trials of finding the right healthcare professional to understand and listen and not be dismissive. And
yeah.
because I know I remember when I asked my previous healthcare provider about having my hormones tested, and she looked at me like, why would you want to do that? And I felt so dismissed and unseen. And I was like, because I'm like, I know there's something wrong with me, but I just couldn't figure it out and what it was. And then third, you want to find community. You want to find people who get it, whether it's online forums, support groups, podcasts like this one, and knowing you're not alone is powerful. Like I know Cynthia and I kind of jokingly talk about our ADHD brains. And I'm like, yeah, I walked in the kitchen, 14 cabinets are open. And I'm like, who the heck was here? And I was like, well, turned up
Last night.
once here. So I guess I did it,
Yeah, my daughter was asking me a question the other day, and it was just, I was like, she just said it kind of offhanded. And she had said, Mom, have you ever taken ADHD meds? And I go off on this story and I'm telling her about one time when I was 20, I'd had like something, very sad happen. And my mom thought the way to fix it was to give me my brother's ADHD Ritalin meds. And I'm here to tell you that for 5 weeks, while I took this last of this bottle of meds, first of all, I lost 30 pounds. Secondly, I was no longer depressed. I was so efficient, like so efficient. I got stuff done that I would never dream of getting done. And I'm a doer. Like I make lists for my lists. And I'm telling my daughter the story. And so she's just sitting there like, and she goes, so what you're saying is you needed the medication. I was like, no, I didn't. I functioned just fine. It just when I was on the medication, I could just feel like everything got very focused and streamlined. And she goes, yeah, Mom, that means that the meds were working. And I was like, what?
I have a very similar story, and when my daughter was diagnosed, and I know this is probably a little unorthodox, but I'm thinking, as a parent, we want to know what we're giving our children. So again, I was like, well, let me try her Ritalin. Let's see what happens. Holy cow, you guys. I'm not saying everybody should be medicated, and definitely don't take medication that's not prescribed for you. However, I had like a color color-coded accordion file in my brain, and I could go to any file and find the tab and pull out the paper or whatever it was that I needed. And like you, Cynthia, I got so much stuff done. I was so efficient. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to go potentially go get diagnosed now, because I'm still wondering, even at my age, maybe I should be medicated even once in a while.
I hear it, but thankfully, in addition to if you do need meds out there, there's like practical tools you can use. There's, setting a timer on your phone for like, for the doom scrolling, reminders, there's planners, there's tons of apps. Also, a key is to give your brain and your body permission to rest. Look, you're no good to yourself or to anybody else around you if your brain and your body are fried. And that happens very easily, with all of the sensitivities and the sensitivity overload. You can just go from like, I'm perfectly fine to I am not okay. And look, if you need to sit in the pantry and like eat cereal straight out of the box for some self-care, I'm all for it. Do it.
Yeah, because that's the thing that we neglect through this process, is the ability to care for ourselves, because we're so busy really just treading water. And, some of us may still have kids at home, you're going through perimenopause, you might have teenagers, you might even be what they call that sandwich generation, where you have older parents that need some help and you have kids, and you're just flying by the seat of your pants, and you're running on this treadmill as fast as you can, and you have no idea where you're going to even land at the end of this. And really, it's about figuring out what you need and taking care of yourself. Because I know, had I been able to have these conversations, 20 years ago, it probably would have made things significantly different. And, 20 years ago, my friends and I were like, it was like a competition. I'm like, oh, I got this, and this done. And I went to bed at 12:30 and I got up at 5:30, and then I went hiking and I did that. And it was like constant. And when we talk about giving your brain time to rest, that does not mean scrolling or watching television.
Yeah.
That means literally just sitting.
No stimulation.
Yeah. And I know on my other business page, I talk about meditation a lot. And meditation doesn't have to be this big giant, oh my gosh, I have to sit for an hour.
Yeah, it's not like the lotus position and the for 20 minutes.
No, it's like today I went for a walk and I just listened to meditation music while I was out walking. I was outside, I was seeing the trees and that kind of stuff. And so that's where you take that time to be with yourself.
Yeah.
Don't always listen to podcasts and things like that. I get it. It's trying to multitask and everything, but you're at the end of the day, you're just setting your brain on fire.
Yeah. Because it leads to like, you not being able to just kind of like turn everything off, with ADHD, with with menopause, like it's harder for you to turn it all off because you had like conditioned yourself for so many years to always be on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it is. And so we see you, we hear you, we are you.
Yeah.
And we'll keep talking about this until it's normalized, until it's understood and better supported. Like, I know I had a lunch with a friend the other day, and she's got some things going on, and she was like so grateful that these conversations are becoming normal and that people are always talking about all of these different components, because a lot of times you feel like you're the only one going through it. It's kind of like when your kid throws a tantrum in Target and they're on the floor and you're just like, you feel like you're the only parent. And then you see that one parent that just gives you a nod and smiles because they've been there. And it's not, you're not happy that that parent's going through that. You're just like, oh my gosh, I'm not in this boat alone.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us today. If this episode resonated, share it with someone that you know. Hit the like, share, and subscribe, because we're all out here just trying to juggle our brain and our hormones at the same time.
And remember, neither you or your brain is broken. You're breaking open. Thanks for hitting share, like, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.